All right, great. Hey guys, I wanted to give you a quick update on Angular as of May 2018. This is something we're going to try to start doing a little bit before the talk, and I'll get through this quickly. I don't want to keep you guys here all night, but I just want to kind of hit on some things that we've seen in the community in the last month or two. And some of this comes out of the NGConf that we just had in Salt Lake City 2 weeks ago or whatever. If you don't know, Angular 6 dropped last week, which is awesome, right? 6.0.0 is final. It really comes with a lot of tooling, which is amazing. So we've got ng update, ng add, we've got workspaces and libraries coming into the CLI. ng update is promises to have a very bright future for us as Angular developers, and as we continue to upgrade our Angular projects from 6 to 7 to 8 and going forward. So ng update is built on top of the schematics in the CLI. And hopefully will be adopted by a lot of third-party libraries. So we can do things like upgrade NGRX when Angular 7 comes out and there's any sort of breaking changes, right? ng add is to add libraries into your project, like maybe you want to add material into your project. Before ng add, you had to go to like the material.angular.io website and follow their like getting started and like plug in modules and all this kind of stuff. ng add kind of does a lot of that for you. We've got workspaces, so that is kind of building a little bit on top of some of the ideas that came out of NX and the Norwal team, doing multi-project, mono-repo, where you're building multiple apps in an enterprise environment, sharing modules, libraries, and code between those applications. And then we also have libraries of kind of builds on top with workspaces where we can actually ng generate new libs, right, and new libraries that are shared across applications. So that's really exciting with Angular 6. With Angular 6, we also got Angular Elements, which has been kind of talked about a lot in the community. Very briefly, Angular Elements is bringing wrapping Angular components in like a thin shell, if you will, in order to deliver them as standardized web components. So breaking a component outside of the Angular routing and an entire Angular app or single page app and breaking out a component that you can then just embed in like an index or an HTML file, like something you might be used to, you were able to do with AngularJS, right? I want to build a little widget and I want to give it to whatever, all my different teams, and they can embed this widget in their websites. So Angular Elements does that for us now. It's very exciting. This one's nice too. Angular Material and CDK, and I think others. They're going to start syncing major release versions. So previous to Angular 6, Angular Material and the CDK were on different versions, and Angular was on like 5, and Angular CDK was on like 2, and you didn't really have this like these work with these versions. So that kind of became a bit of a frustration for some people. So now they've determined we're going to sync these all up. So every 6 months, we're going to expect, or around 6 months, some sort of major release, and those will all jump on the major release. So on Semver, that 6 will go to 7 to 8. So that way you can guarantee compliance between those projects if you're using the CDK and Material.
CDK stands for
this is the component dev kit. So Angular Material was building this component library over the last couple years, and they said, wow, there's a lot of stuff that we're doing that's really, I don't want to say low level, but it's kind of like we're doing this in components, and we could break this code out and create this component dev kit, and then you can build stuff on top of that. Things that kind of might be hard to do in a very production and really solid way. Things like modals and overlays, and doing it in an accessible way. It's actually really hard when you get into the nuts and bolts of doing that kind of stuff. So they broke out kind of some of their underlying stuff, like a data table. If you want to build your own version of a component data table, you can start with the CDK, and then you've got a nice foundation to build on top of. And then we also have LTS, so long-term support for all major releases of Angular. Previous to this, they were only doing LTS support for every other even versions of Angular releases. This is a good thing if you're looking to upgrade, like let's say to 5, maybe you don't want to go 6 yet, and you were concerned there's no LTS support here. This is basically Google committing to every major version for hot fixes and security patches. And then finally, we have the new IB rendering engine. It's a still work in progress. It hasn't been released yet, but it promises smaller bundle sizes and improved performance with no breaking changes, which those are all positive things. So we'll kind of see that come down the pipeline in the next 6 months to a year or whenever that'll be. So those are some quick updates. Any questions with those?
Quick question, is CDK just a way to extend Angular material?
You can think of CDK as kind of the meat in the sandwich between Angular material and Angular. So it sits as like it provides some of the base services that Angular material uses, like overlay, data table, and some of the other stuff. You can check it out. It's on the material website, material.angular.io. There's a button up top for CDK. So if, say you're building a component library for your company, and you don't want to use material, but you want to build your own component library for whatever case that is, you can use the CDK as kind of like a foundation layer. So that way you're not wiring up really basic stuff like overlay positioning and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yep. So check it out. It's online. They have some examples and code and all that stuff. So, any other questions on the updates?